everybody, and welcome to a terrific Tuesday while I try and work out what's going on. Okay, here we go. Now, how have we all been? Oh my goodness, everything's changing. Welcome to today, and it's a bit more chilly in Brisbane today, but we're doing live together. My name's Linda and I'm your counsellor on call, and today I want to talk to you about trauma and your heart. Trauma appears in our life in the form sometimes of anxiety attacks. It can come in as depression. It can come in as PTSD, and that's mainly the areas that I talk about. And when it happens, we can be in a space where we know that our heart is hurting a lot, but we don't actually feel how tight we're holding everything in our body. So all our muscles become very tight and tense. Our brain can actually feel really tight and tense. Think of, the latest migraine you had. That's just when we're really holding on. But one way that we can really discover when we're holding on is through our breathing. It's very simple. If we stop when we feel the first sense of pain, then we can begin to breathe in slowly for 5 seconds and slowly out for 5 seconds. Now, what will happen anytime you try to change things when you're dealing with an anxiety attack, PTSD, is that your brain automatically goes, things are changing, am I safe? And your brain's primary trigger is that it wants to keep you safe. So what you need to do is be centered in the now, but keep doing the 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out so that you can get a consistency happening and your brain can get used to the fact that change is okay. All right, so you're going to retrain your brain to relax. So not you as a person, and this can be really hard for people to understand who've never experienced this. That anxiety isn't part of who I am, okay? It's my brain's triggering to a response. Even if I want to change things, it's going to be triggered and it's going to want to run off into having an anxiety or a panic attack. And we don't want that anymore. So what we choose to do in the adulting format is do the slow breathing. And look, I did this in the beginning and I did it often. Hi Sarah, great to see you today. I did the 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out breathing, and it's actually something that's very hard to do unless you're in a relaxed space. So don't try and do it in the middle of a panic attack first. What you want to do is set yourself up so that when you're doing the breathing, when anything changes around you, you're okay during the day as well. So first off, start doing it for a minute, okay? 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out for 1 minute. And if you do that in bed at night and feel the breath go through you, okay? So become aware of how far you can draw your breath in, with the ultimate being right down through the core of you, right down to your toes. And you begin to notice, you become aware over time, so not instantly, over time, you become aware of the parts of your body and your brain that are holding on really, really tight. Now, after we do that, if we do this consistently, we can then, when we're having an anxiety or a panic attack, we can begin to stop and do the 5 second breathing so that we can stop the panic and anxiety attack from escalating. Now, you won't do it once when you're having a panic attack. You will keep doing it because what you're doing is retraining your brain not to keep reacting to the same trigger. Okay, so if you take one thing that triggers you into even a moment of, I can't breathe, okay, so it doesn't even have to be a major anxiety attack. It can be something that you're aware that you just start beginning to hold your breath. I mean, I didn't realise how often throughout a day I held my breath, okay, and severe trauma will do that to you. You don't realise because your brain's on survival mode all the time. You're unaware that you're going stop, and I've got no control of what's happening here. I'm going to, stop breathing. And when we stop breathing, it does trigger the brain into going, I've got to keep her safe. She must need to be safe. Okay? It sounds very complex, and on the other hand, it can sound very simple too. But what it is, more than anything, is you beginning to experience what's happening in your life. Trauma, at its worst, tries to keep us out of what's happening and being joyful in the moment, because the brain has gone into overload. So imagine, you've got a bucket of water and you're pouring the water in, and the bucket is this unit that can only get filled up so far, and then it overflows. Well, that's what happens for us when we experience things that are traumatic. The brain goes, right, we're in overload now. Okay, so even if you took that one bit of information that we're in overload now, you'd begin to be able to get back some control of what's happening around you, and then add the breathing in. Because as you become more self-aware of when you're in overload, you begin to go, oh, in this situation, I need to set up parameters that I know will make my brain believe or understand that I'm still safe in this situation. Okay? Like I said, it does take time. There are many different facets around it, but these are just a couple of easy things that we can do in order that we begin to get us back. We know we're here. We know that we're not this mental illness or this mental health challenge, but it can feel so overwhelming. It's like, where do I go? What happens? And it makes us feel out of control, which makes us not want to go there ever again. But the problem is our brain keeps going there. So if we can do this, start doing your breathing of a night in your bed or even in your lounge room, somewhere where it's quiet, where you feel safe. So your brain's not going to be triggered by anything. And if it is, you can go, listen, I'm safe. Don't give me this rubbish. I'm safe. It sounds funny at first because it's like you're talking to yourself, but you're not. You're just being adamant, using your energy and saying, this is rubbish. I'm safe. I can do this. Oh, and another thing I used to do in the beginning too, especially if you've had disassociation, when I started to do the breathing, I used to put weights, not weights as in gym weights, but I have special pouches made up that have rice in them about this big, and I used to lay them on me so that I could feel my chest, so this whole area going up and down with the breath, so it stops any disassociation from happening while you're teaching your body and brain to get used to a new way of breathing. Okay, and then you can go into the space of, okay, while I'm out, I'm going to become aware of when all of a sudden things are becoming overwhelming, and you'll notice the feeling before you notice the thought. And that's a really key indication too, is that we need to become aware. We're going to notice the emotion before we notice any thoughts that are driving the emotion. Okay? I think that is more than enough. I don't want to overwhelm you, especially in this area, because it can feel overwhelming. But we need to say, no, I know in my life as I look around. So for argument's sake, when I'm at gym, this has happened for me. All of a sudden I can feel the panic attack coming on. So this is another reason why you want to know when the panic attack's coming on, not it's here and I've got no control. So because I did all of this type of thing, I learned to feel when it was coming on in my body. And what I did was I'd go, oh, for goodness sake, apart from being frustrated that it was happening again, and it shouldn't be because I've been at gym for years and I'm safe. So what I did was anchor myself and go, slow my breathing down and look around, and I'd go, I am safe. I am safe, damn it. It's so you can't use the thought process. You've got to use the feeling and bring all the safety in from your senses perspective. So your senses, using your sight and looking around, using your touch. So I was holding on to the bike handles and I am safe. Okay. Obviously I can, and you can tune in with your ears. So at gym, there's always music. I am safe. So whatever senses that you can use to anchor yourself into I am safe. So what happens then was I was able to move through the panic attack and have it go, but not have a full-blown panic attack where I just about passed out. Now, what happens is though, because you're aware that your body's been held tight, it is a tiring process and you will need to rest. If you're not having a rest after a panic attack, then you're going to send yourself into overload. Again, remember the bucket, the water, we can only pour so much in and then we've got to rest. Now, as you do this work, your brain will create new neural pathways. Okay? That is amazing. It's awesome because as you create new neural pathways, you then get into a space more and more so of where you're free from having your brain trigger into that anxiety, panic, PTSD trigger again. Okay? If you have any questions or comments, please hit me up down below. I'm always happy to answer anything that you need. Thank you for being with me today, Sarah, and everyone else. #replay if you're here on the replay. And I will see you again tomorrow for another quick session to help us grow personally, continually, and with consistency. Okay, bye for now.